I ain't ready. Rachel's kind of ready.
Hit it.
All right, we're back. Some Guy and John, featuring me, John, and some guy. And as from time to time, our fun guest hosts to sit in, Rachel, the Smarty Pants. Yes, who can go over story structure with us because she's not a moron like we are. But I don't know. I think she's tired tonight, and the bar's kind of
Loud
and annoying.
Yeah.
It is kind of annoyingly loud. But you know what? We got our fun task cam, so hopefully that will pick up at least our voices.
We'll see how it plays out.
We'll see. You're usually the softer voice. I'm the one who usually gets louder.
But I'm sitting the closest.
I know.
And I'm leaned over.
Smart move, my friend.
I'm doing what I can to make sure you hear me tonight.
Well, that's good because what are we talking about? A new sci-fi, which I think is going to be the new craze if it hasn't really started already. Because all the money that they're not going to spend at HBO and Game of Thrones after next season, I think they're going to pump into this.
Yeah, because it's good.
It's really good. And what are we talking about?
Westworld. Westworld, the TV show, not the movie.
Right, the TV show. The TV show with Anthony Hopkins and a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I introduced this one to you, what, 2 nights ago?
Last night. Last night we did the first 3 episodes, and I went home and watched most of the 4th one, but I got the gist of it.
Right. That's what we're up to now. That's what everybody's up to now, is the 4th episode.
Which is really good because they don't end on exact cliffhangers, but they make you wonder what's going to happen in the next one without doing a cliffhanger, which is cool. Yeah.
But I'm into it. Cowboy stuff, sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
And, it's not Cowboys versus Aliens.
Right.
Oh, that was horrible.
So, as a result, hey, listen, Cowboys and sci-fi stuff done correctly. All right. I'll take it.
Yeah, I say we abandon the normal format because it's not over yet.
Yeah.
And I'd say don't watch this if you haven't seen all 4 episodes that are out so far.
I mean, there's only 4 episodes.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, are we doing too many spoilers? I mean, there's only 4 episodes, so I guess.
We're going to talk about what's actually happening in the dual layers and the maze and how.
I guess so. You've already brought it up, so okay, fine. Just use your HBO Go, which is their subscription service, or find it as a rerun on one of the many HBO channels and watch the first 4 episodes and catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like we have enough of an audience that we have to warn them, but we still do out of courtesy.
You still have to out of courtesy.
Yeah.
You still have to out of courtesy. Bruce Willis is dead the whole time. Did you know that?
It's all spoilers for this episode because it's not.
Darth Vader is
not over.
in fact Luke Skywalker's father. Okay. So spoiler. I mean, well, first start with the premise. The premise is pretty easy. It's in the somewhat near future.
It's in the nebulous future because they don't
It's
discuss.
never identified.
Yeah, they don't talk about anything that's going on.
Well,
I mean, did either of you have anything specific you wanted to talk about? Because I was reading a BuzzFeed article the other night that I could use as a jumping off point if we wanted to.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the article, which I waited until we watched episode 4 to read, was titled "What's Going On" or "What the Hell is Going On in Westworld" or something like that.
Okay.
And it detailed a bunch of really interesting fan theories.
Okay.
And all of them sort of took me by surprise. That hadn't occurred to me, and some of them I'm like, no, that makes no sense. But some of them I'm like, that could possibly make sense. I don't know. So the first one was that William, so the character played by the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember what else he's on, but
he's in other stuff.
He's in other things, but that's
know him
what
as
I
one of the
recognize.
McCoy brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he plays our our one like.
Well, he's kind of our eyes as the audience.
Yeah,
He
a little
is.
bit, yeah.
He's
Because
our
he's like, stop fucking everything. Let's explore this world.
Because he's
yeah.
a guest
yeah.
who's being taken there by. We figured out in this most recent episode, because the guy he's there with said, this is a welcome to the family thing.
Yeah,
and
they work together. Yeah,
they work together.
They work together too.
Okay.
But
they work together, but we don't know what they do for work.
They work,
we don't know what
exactly.
anybody does for work at all.
No, not at all. But we do know that he is going to be our McBoyle brothers' brother-in-law pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because he keeps mentioning, hey, you know what? You can do whatever you want with the virtual or Android cowboy hookers because my sister's been here before with a few cowboys herself.
Yeah, and his friend's always zipping up his pants.
Yeah.
So one fan theory is that character, William, is the same character as Ed Harris, and we're actually seeing two different timelines at the same time. So, like, the different things we're seeing are actually happening, like, 30 years apart in time.
Oh.
And so what we're seeing...
That's interesting.
That is
like,
interesting,
everybody who works there and Ed Harris, like, that's actually happening 30 years in the future.
Wow.
Wow. And so, like, part of the piece of it, like, one of the pieces of evidence that they had was they showed a picture... They showed pictures side by side of the scene when William and his friend / brother-in-law to be arrive at Westworld, and it's this really fancy, shiny escalator, like subway station looking place.
Yeah.
And then side by side, they showed a shot from when, the people who work there have to go down into cold storage.
They go to the shopping mall.
And it's the abandoned shopping mall.
Abandoned shopping mall. And so the two pictures they put together is in like, maybe that's not an abandoned shopping mall. Maybe that's this weird escalator arrival place that William...
That they just abandoned over
the
years.
they changed it over the years. That's interesting,
Yeah, I didn't see that.
And so the time, like the time in which Ed Harris is living in sort of a like post-apocalyptic, there's not a whole lot else happening on the surface of the earth.
He's got nothing to do.
So that's one of the fan theories. We can sort of, I can just say what each of them are, and then we can say
that
if there's
one. That one kind of gets blown out of the water because.
Well, as soon as you look at the employees that work there, there's the young woman who's like the engineer.
Right.
Yeah. She's in both timelines because she interacts with when they're having problems in the park with like the updates not going well. But she interacts with I can't remember. Forgive the racism. Who's the black guy? What's his name again?
Jeffrey something or other.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Right. Well, he's interacting throughout both timelines.
What do you mean?
He hasn't all of a sudden aged 30 years. When
we don't ever see him.
No, we don't ever see that. We don't ever see him interact with our principal characters though. Ever.
So
no, but we see him like comment on what's happening in
comment on what's actually happening.
Is he ever commenting on something that William's doing?
No, he.
I
don't think so.
It's a stretch.
I could be
part of
it's a stretch.
It's a stretch.
Mostly because
that's
we
kind
see.
of a stretch, yeah.
I think it's a stretch because we see Dolores with William clearly responding to the conversations she's been having with Bernard.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I buy it for that reason.
Well, and then there's that scene in like the 4th episode. I actually saw that where somebody comes up and thanks him for all the work his foundation's done out in the real world.
Right.
And he says, "Shut up, or I'll cut your fucking throat."
Right.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting because.
Well, he doesn't want any reminders.
Well, and I thought about this too. A knife's a knife. It's not the Hunger Games where it's a completely CGI world and they can manipulate everything. These people actually have things on them, so
and so you can be given a gun that will only kill robots, but if you're given a knife, a knife is going to kill another human being.
A knife will kill whoever you stab, or you can, abandon the knife. You can beat them to death with your bare fists. Yeah,
Episode 3, where the young woman engineer thought she was going to get pummeled by a rock.
Yeah.
Luckily, the host nailed itself, and
which I thought was cool because
they also comment on the axes. They're like, only certain hosts are authorized to handle any sharp objects like.
Only certain hosts now are authorized to use any sharp objects.
Right.
They change it with the update, but I thought it was interesting that the host.
What I thought Guy was talking about just guest on guest.
Yeah,
Well,
guest on guest.
guest,
Yes,
yeah.
Which is a weird thing because it seems like they only monitor things when there's problems. They're not constantly monitoring everything.
Well, considering how big that place is probably supposed to be.
Yeah, but
how good they, right?
at the same time, they like I said, they have that Hunger Games view, so they can zoom in and monitor, but they're not always, or maybe they are, but nobody's watching it. Like it's all archived, and if they have a problem, they go back to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would make sense to me. Just because I mean, they're adding with every one of these narratives.
Yeah.
You heard that the British guy, the writer, he's like, I want 50 Native American, I want 50 Indians.
I want 50 more hosts, and I guess they have a set amount of hosts.
And they were like, listen, you're only
have
going
to
to get
take
20.
them out,
No, because it costs money.
Yeah.
He's like, and so she was like, no, you're only going to get 20. He's like, well, that's not really a big of a horde of Indians. That's like a small gang.
But they did
And
make
she's
it
like,
a
no,
point
you're
to
getting
say...
20. Yeah, but essentially that means that on the low end of the scale, anytime this guy has a bright idea, he gets 20 more of these things. So over the years, there's got to be like thousands.
No, but
of them in there.
they almost.
Well, we saw how many rejected ones or retired ones.
They made it a subtle
Right.
point to say,
Right. So trying to monitor and watch all of them, and then where randomly our guests will go.
Yeah, but they did know when people were off their loops, like
Yeah.
almost immediately.
Yeah, but that seems like something that's automated. That listen, when something goes off a loop, it triggers an alarm, sends up a flag, and then they're alerted.
I think that's a reveal that it's all recorded but not monitored.
Yeah, I mean, I would buy that, but I don't know if is that a big reveal? Like, are we gonna really hinder on that? Is that gonna be a surprise?
Well, I mean, more of in like a subplot of how could somebody know all these things about a particular host or a particular guest and let them pass or not let them pass because they've been going through the archives instead of actually monitoring them, like in Paris's character.
Yeah, I know, but when they had the big Hunger Games map, I just assumed they were technically they were recording everything and kind of were aware.
I think
but when they
are.
did see him, they asked him, "Hey, we've got a request for pyrotechnics." And somebody says that guest can do whatever he wants. Just let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah, so I think there are people who are monitoring that map constantly who are checking in, and it appears that guests can make requests in some virtual way to be like, I want to do pyrotechnics in area in sector A4. Am I allowed to set off this explosive?
Because if there's another guest around, I could hurt that guest.
Let me know if there's another guest around.
Or I could hurt myself.
Or I could hurt myself if I'm in an area that's really flammable. Like, am I allowed to do this here? And that there's constantly people standing at the map to get those requests and then respond to them. So, I mean, I think it is being constantly monitored.
Regardless of any of this, I would love to go to Westworld. Although it's $40,000 a day.
Yeah, I know.
40,000 a day to go there, but you're in the Old West. You can do whatever the hell you want. It is Red Dead Redemption or Red Dead Revolver. It's what it is.
Yeah.
There's kind of missions. There's kind of things, but you're not tied to them. You can go around and do whatever the fuck you want. You can go nail hookers. You can go. They're all androids. They're all real. It's not VR. But
see, I'm wondering if they'll ever open it up to Future World, which was the next movie.
Maybe.
Because I wouldn't want to go to Westworld. I'm a Boy Scout. I'm an Eagle Scout. I did enough fucking camping. I did enough living in the dirt for months, for like weeks and months on end.
Live in the town. Live above the saloon.
Yeah.
The whole idea is to play with that world.
I don't find that world appealing.
That's all you had to say.
Yeah, I don't find that world appealing.
No one's going to force you to camp because you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
It's just you
also, I don't think the guests stay in the. I don't think the guests spend the night there.
I think that Ed Harris definitely is.
Well, Ed Harris is off book.
Ed Harris is off book.
Yeah, but you know what?
But I don't know. I think the rest of them get on the train and go back to the posh little area that they landed in.
Just from the setup that they've said so many times, every night they refurbish everything.
Yeah, I don't think
every day they reboot the whole world.
I don't think they want guests in the park every night when they're taking out every body that got shot last night and repairing it.
Yeah, because that big shootout
happens
every day. Yeah,
I hear you there, but I still have to see, or I still have to hear one line of dialogue that says that.
No, I agree.
Because we're seeing guests at night in the park.
Yeah.
we're seeing them. They're having campfires and shit.
Yeah.
Episode 3 ends on that,
I think
where
that's true.
Dolores falls into his
I
arms.
think if
But
you
they're
go
off on a
out on a mission
storyline,
where
yeah.
you're camping,
If you go out
that's
on a
one
storyline,
thing.
but
if you go out on a storyline, but I think otherwise you can just. What I'm saying is I don't know if there are places to stay in town, like what you're talking about, like renting a room above a saloon. I don't know if there is.
No, but I don't know for a fact either. But I would guess there would be. I mean,
well, see, I'd say it's a little bit of both.
Think of all the scenes where we see them just like, okay, it's nighttime, let's go.
Yeah, they shut everything down and clean up.
And then they turn all the floodlights on the main street. Like, would you really do that if you had guests paying $40,000 a day staying in the room upstairs? Would you turn on the floodlight?
Are you going to tell them you got to leave by a certain time when you're paying $40,000 a day?
Yeah, to go back to the extremely posh hotel you're paying for.
I see. I don't know. If I'm paying $40,000 a day, I want the whole experience. Because
so when you say you want the whole experience, do you want the whole experience that involves the floodlights getting turned on in the middle of the night where you watch all of the robots get... Well, but why is that the whole experience? Doesn't that ruin it?
Because I don't have to be there at that moment. I could be out on the dusty trail at night like William is right now.
Yeah, but you're... Okay, so you keep going back to people who are out on a storyline. I'm talking about... Because you brought up the idea of you could stay in a room above the saloon.
I know, but you're hindering it on the fact that... Hinging on the fact that they closed the park to do repairs. Right, if they're out on a storyline...
I'm not saying I think they close the park to do repairs.
Yeah, but you're saying... But who's to say that when they're out on a storyline, floodlights don't have to go up out on the dusty trail out there to go clean up all the dead Indians that they all just got done killing 10 minutes earlier?
Yeah, but you usually don't camp where you had a battle.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to have it one way or the other. Either they're going to kick them out, or they're going to
so far with the story we've been presented, it's a little bit of both. Like the hub town where you take the train to, your starting point. Every day that gets reset because every day everything happens
new
there.
People show up.
When you go out on your adventures, those are kind of free form. They'll come and clean up behind you, but you usually
but if I just murder 20 Indians and then walk 10 feet and set up camp and went to sleep, isn't there going to be a team that comes in 10 feet from me where I'm sound asleep, clean up all those Indians?
Well,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You got to pick one. It's not going to be if they're out on the dusty trail and they're in a storyline.
You don't have to pick one in our sci-fi world.
I think you do.
In our sci-fi world, they can, if they have complete control of the environment, they can drug you and you're out when you go to sleep out on your adventures.
They're not doing that. Not for $40,000. No way.
I would bet though that instead they say,
that's a conspiracy theory for
which section
movie.
that each night they say which section of the park is completely empty of guests tonight.
Yeah.
Let's do maintenance there.
Yeah.
See, I buy that.
That I'm willing to believe.
Yeah.
I buy that, and then they let everybody stay because if you're spending $40,000, you're not going to kick me out. If I'm dropping $40,000 a day here, you're not telling me to leave. I may want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, go downstairs, and nail one of the hookers in the brothel or in the saloon, whatever. What's to say I don't feel like doing that?
Yeah.
Well, but I think also all of the robots.
I can do that in Vegas.
We see Dolores goes to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see We see these things go to sleep, which is presumably, hey, listen, if you go downstairs, I'm like saying, if you go downstairs in a casino in Vegas doesn't close.
Yeah.
You go downstairs, but what does happen is you're going to see the people that were up and working that day are all asleep right now, so you're probably not going to see those people.
You're going to see a different shift.
You got the B team, the midnight crew of hookers and bartenders and good slingers. They come in. That's what you do, but you keep it running 24/7 like Vegas. That's what I think you do. Just like you wouldn't close a casino, you're not going to close this place. But I think that's what you were saying, Rachel, is right. When they look at, hey, listen, nobody's in this area.
We have no one in Sector 4 tonight. Shut it down,
let's
clean it
up. Let's do it. Whatever.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. And it's not weird if the guests know that it's fake.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, some of our characters have outright said, and maybe it's better if they know that it's fake, because you want them having all these emotional scars if they think they actually just killed somebody who's real.
Yeah.
Maybe it's better that they know something that's fake. By the way, how does your Bic lighter sound on that microphone from 2 inches away?
We'll find out. It's the only light source I have. I'm not tipping a candle over.
Oh, Boy Scout, huh?
Yeah, Boy Scout.
Look how quiet
What about
that
your
is.
phone?
No. This is already lit, and it makes no noise.
We'll come back to that.
I just had to tease.
I had my one check. No, I like the world.
I love the world. I would happily do it. I've never been a massive Wild West guy, but I would happily go there if I could afford it.
I don't find the world appealing. I like the world they've set up. The problem I had, I'm done with.
Which is
the operating system.
Oh.
The basis of the whole fucking story.
No,
I'm over it. I'm done with it. I'm done with it.
Nitpicked.
I nitpicked, and then I was done with it. I was done with it.
Okay.
How a hard drive works is most times when you delete something, you don't exactly wipe out the data. The operating system marks that piece on the hard drive
as something to be
Deletion.
overwritten. Yeah.
So when new data gets written, it takes that spot and changes it into whatever new information is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? But until you do that, that data's still there.
Yeah.
So if you were, let's say, somehow managed to retrieve it,
Right.
It's the dual
You can see
basis
it.
of the last update.
so we're talking about the memories are coming back.
It's like I
I'm
know
sorry, I don't. Why is that a
Dreams,
problem?
memories.
it's a problem because
Guy
he and
had
I
a
both know
Guy
that
had a
you
suggestion of just install another hard drive.
can. Yeah, this is all another hard drive. That's only the operating
But
system,
I think
and that's
the
it.
point of part of where we're going with
Right.
this
Yeah.
is the question of what happens when you've made AI
So good.
so good that it starts retrieving memories that should have been deleted.
Oh, yeah,
when
I
it
know.
starts-
Which is obviously a lot more interesting than troubleshooting like an Apple
And that's why.
bar person.
And that's why I said. That's why I said I'm done with the
Thank you.
minor problem I
Thank
had.
you.
I erased the problem. It's fine.
Thank you.
Also, that seems
Yeah.
like an expensive way to fix the problem, because I would imagine that whatever
Drives are
hard
using,
drives these things are using are incredibly expensive and detailed.
Yeah, probably.
And I mean, like in one of the scenes where Bernard's talking to Anthony Hopkins' character, and in the opening sequence, we see an AI being made, and they're not made in parts. They're made.
Oh, they're made at one, yeah.
They're made at once.
Well, they're made like a
So-
human being is made.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
They're
And so-
synthetic
They're
human beings.
formed.
Yeah.
And so
they're not really
having-
made, they're formed.
and
They're
so
they're
having
they're,
to
they're Ghost in the Shell robots.
having to go in and change
Yeah.
the drive would be incredibly costly and difficult, and
Also, we don't know exactly what kind of technology they're using.
No, of course not.
It's
Yeah.
so it's impossible to speculate.
We don't know if it's pseudo-organic, all non-organic, because they literally get shot to fuck,
I know they get
and all
slapped-
their information is still there because they just repaired them and they're
Yeah, I
done.
know they slap
You know?
back together and they're kind
Yeah.
of back in the game like instantly.
Yeah.
Well, overnight they're kind of back in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I hear you.
I mean, I have to say, I really did like the 4th episode because for me, it wasn't so much, oh, this is what's happening and the machines have figured it out. It's this actual spirituality that actually exists out in the real world that just happens to fall inside of what's going on
Okay.
with
Yeah.
the people who are these people that I keep seeing, and like my rough image matches this rough doll from I think episode 3, and it's like the prostitute.
yeah, it's when she sees the,
Yeah,
the
she's
little
in-
Native
yeah.
American girl walking by with the doll.
Yeah, and
Right.
and
That
she drops
matches
it,
the- yeah.
and she
Yeah.
draws a picture of it, and she opens up a thing, and there's all these pictures of it, which was fun, slightly annoying. I knew what was going to be in there.
Yeah.
You kind of know what's going to be in there, and I was like, oh, that's really cool.
There was-
Let's
I
see
mean,
how
yeah.
this character deals with it. Yeah,
There were some things I'm like, oh, I think I saw that coming.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot.
not
for
a
me.
lot.
There wasn't a lot for me. There's you know, like there's some shows that are like so formulaic.
Yeah, this one,
You
this
can
one's
see it coming
not.
out. This one's really not.
Yeah.
It's really not. I mean, there's only been a handful of times where I'm like, okay, yeah, I figured that would happen. Only been a very handful of times. For the most time, I'm kind of shocked at every
See,
time.
I did really like that the host killed himself, so the engineers couldn't access his information. Like that host knew that there was
I'd
a
like to
deeper
believe
level.
that, but I still don't know why.
Which,
That host.
which one are you talking about?
The one
When the
who
guy
crushed
smashed his
himself
head.
with-
Oh.
I
Yeah.
still wasn't
Oh, see, I think
sure
he was just
why.
buggy.
Yeah, which is what we're led to believe. So I don't know. I mean, so I don't really know why. They haven't said why.
Also, I mean, like, are we sure that means they can't access his information?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they probably could.
They probably could, but the way they said it was they were cutting off his head because that's all they needed. He smashed his head, which seems to hint at pseudo-techno-organic, so if it's physically destroyed, you can't retrieve the information. And they were both upset about it.
On a cloud, so
yeah, that's
a
true.
cloud-like data system. So
yeah.
They all seem to have an archive. They're obviously very curious about what's going on inside that each host. But they do seem to be able to access every single host remotely because they're able to turn them off and go to sleep most of the time.
Well, see, that falls back on like why it was easy for me to like let the hard drive thing go, because they're accessing a cloud, they're accessing group information to function,
right?
But they're using that information inside of their own head, their own internal program to function. When he smashed it, some of both was lost. Like, what was he accessing? Because his point of reference is inside of his head. It's destroyed. They can't get it all. They were upset that he did that because they couldn't get it all.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know. I think because we're only 4 episodes in.
Yeah,
we don't know enough yet.
Because of the structure of the way Anthony Hopkins keeps explaining it, he wants him to be as human as possible, yet controlled inside of parameters.
Yes.
I have the feeling that they're accessing information constantly from the cloud, but their interpretation and their usage is completely themselves. So if you destroy the unit, if you destroy a host,
I think
you can't ever know what that host is actually doing if you don't have that host.
I think clearly there's something up with this update.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is what ticked everything off.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, they kept going on and on about we haven't had problems for over 10 years.
Yeah. No
with
problems.
anything.
Yeah.
Up until this one update, and now all of a sudden 10% of the population is having problems. It's the same 10% that got this update.
Yeah. Everybody who got updated is now a problem.
Even some of the engineers were like, honestly, we didn't even need the update.
Yeah.
I don't know why we did it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would be a lot more curious about this update. I would want to get more information about that. Forget the cloud for a second. Look at the update.
Well, they said what the update was is that it accessed the old memories before they were overwritten by like the new day. Which for me is a perfect recipe for disaster, but that's what they're doing with the story.
Yeah, but whose decision was that?
Anthony Hopkins. He snuck it in.
Right, and to what end?
To make them more human. But
is that his final end? Because he keeps talking about some new project he has in the works
he's got some
that he hasn't given us any details about.
Right.
And so I think it may be, he may be building towards that this all may be necessary for his new narrative.
Yeah.
Right.
It almost seems like...
Well, like the writer had a really fancy, schmancy, expensive narrative ready to go in.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, we're not going to do that. I got something better. Forget it.
Yeah, because
I know you worked really hard on it.
It was too,
and spent money on it. We're not going to do that. Forget it.
It was too cheap and too...
He's obviously got something
It was too
bigger.
like flash in the pan. Yeah.
Right. He wants something a lot more emotional, a lot more,
And he revealed the maze, which makes me wonder who actually built the maze in the first place, because apparently it's existed the entire time.
Again, we only 4 episodes in.
Yeah,
we are exactly where we should be, which is we have a lot more questions than we have answers.
Yeah.
Which is exactly where you want to be with anything relating to sci-fi.
4 episodes in. Yeah.
Especially 4 episodes in. I'm glad we have more questions.
Yeah, me too.
Because we knew everything, we wouldn't be watching the show for very long.
No.
You just wouldn't.
See, it's like for me, the one thing I'm wondering is because they've shown it with the prostitute. She was something else before.
Right.
They've shown it with the dad. He was something else before.
Right.
The dog.
Wait. You mean the madam, not the... I keep saying prostitute because there's 2. There's 2 main...
Okay.
There's 2 main ones.
The madam, yeah. Okay, she's the madam. Okay.
Who I can never remember her name.
I don't remember her character's name.
No, the actress's name.
Tandy Newton.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She's awesome. I love her.
Yeah, she's rocking.
And thank God they let her keep her English accent.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
And that they give her a little backstory about having come from Ukraine. When I got off that boat, I heard a voice saying...
Yeah.
The same goddamn voice again. Only this time it said, be whoever the fuck you want to be.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy they didn't make her, like, for how many seasons this show's going to go on.
Midwestern
Keep
accent.
faking the Midwestern US. We're like, no. Just be English. It'll make your life interesting. It'll make your character more interesting and make your life easier.
Like I was saying, like our lead's dad was somebody else. Was at least 2 other people.
Right.
And she's the oldest one in the park.
Yeah, she's the oldest AI.
Yeah, so how many other people has she been before that? Was she her mother? Was she the madam? Was she a prostitute? Was she random here or there?
We're going to find out because they haven't told us. They
only went through her dad. Up. Yeah.
What we know is that she's the oldest AI in the park.
Yeah.
And we also know that at least when Abernathy was made her father, he was given a special, like, this is your purpose, is to take care of her.
Yeah.
Like the way he kept talking, like every morning he would say to her, you know, like, my life became so different when I became your dad.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. And like, it's clear that Anthony Hopkins, that was a directive that he gave that character, that AI, for some particular reason.
It's above and beyond.
For some affection or thing he feels for Dolores.
Yeah,
so.
and it's above and beyond just being her father in this world. He's supposed to literally take care of her.
Well, also, Anthony Hopkins was the one who was very interested to interview Abernathy.
Right.
And once they pulled him out. It was Anthony Hopkins in that clear glass interview room.
Yeah.
Not anybody else.
Yeah.
In fact, even when the thing kind of lunges at him, Abernathy kind of lunges and it gets threatening. Anthony Hopkins is the only guy in the room.
Yeah.
The rest of them have to come rushing over because they could look through the window. But, I mean, he clearly was really interested as to what was going through Abernathy's mind. This was him, like, setting up something new that none of these hosts have ever done before. They're accessing old shit. They're all of a sudden having to care in a way maybe they never have before.
It's all because of his latest update.
Something.
Yeah.
But whatever's going on in this update it's definitely planned. It's no accident. However, the results may not be.
I think it's unintended consequences
from an intended
in a good way to drive the story forward. Yeah.
I think so, but I mean, it sounds to me like this is his one final push to make a true to life AI.
Yeah, because it seems like he's opening up the because we loosely know what the maze is. Playing the game on another level where there's actual you can die. That's kind of what Ed Harris opened up when he said that. It's like there's another level to this game, and
but I'm not.
He kind of almost said there's actual danger when you get into the maze.
I mean, I haven't heard that yet. I haven't gotten that impression yet because so far Ed Harris is still walking around in God mode, blowing anybody he doesn't like away.
I do love his gun though. 8 shots with a shotgun shell in the
Isn't
center.
Isn't that cool? Isn't that awesome?
That is pretty sweet.
How many times did he have to level up in this game over 30 years to get that thing?
Yeah,
because clearly they let him use it.
See, I have a feeling he knew Arnold, and he was friends with Arnold.
Or maybe he is.
That's a possibility, too.
It's possible, but now I'm all twisted on this dual timeline shit.
Bugs keep falling on my head.
You want to trade spots?
Would you like to trade spots?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one would you like?
Trade spots with you.
Okay. Well, now my head's all twisted over this the silly dual timeline theory.
Okay,
although it kind of does work out.
It does work out a little bit, but it does a little bit. I'd have to go back and rewatch the 4 episodes and really start paying attention now.
I don't think it really works out.
I think
it's an interesting.
It's a fun theory.
Yeah.
It's a fun conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's entirely true.
Well, see, I think it spawns from them intentionally showing how big the park is.
Yeah.
That Ed Harris can be off doing all these other things, and the people we're following are doing all these other things, and they don't intertwine.
See, that's what I think.
Yeah, I think.
But see, what Rachel said. What Rachel said works because the people that are the crew running the park is the same crew that approved the pyrotechnics display.
Right.
Right.
If there's a 30-year difference, they'd be a different crew.
Right.
Because it actually seems like you sign up and work for this company and
Well-
you're stationed at the park for a certain amount of time. You live there for a certain amount of time.
But we've seen. Let's say that we go with this dual timeline thing.
Okay.
We've seen the crew interact with Ed Harris's timeline. Have we actually seen the crew interact with William's timeline?
Have we seen the crew interact? Yes and
How?
no.
Yes.
Yes and no, because when the madam can wake herself up, it's during whose timeline?
Well, no, not even that.
Okay.
Right?
No, that's fair.
Forget
no,
about.
and again, this is why I don't think it's perfect. But I'm just saying that, like,
Well, when they switch
forget about like the actual crew interacting with William. Think about who William's interacting with, and then who in the crew is interacting with that.
But I am specifically saying.
when they switch the
Okay.
Anthony Hopkins interacts with the
No,
father, then they put him in storage, and she has a different father.
Well, also, how old is the black guy?
I'm not arguing for this. I'm just.
No, it's
No,
sort of-
I'm not arguing with you.
We're-
I'm saying
we're
because
working
that
on
guy
dismissing
that guy seems to keeps having these private conversations
Yes.
with Dolores.
That's why I
But-
don't buy the dual theory.
Right, because that Dolores keeps interacting with William,
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
and it's after these interactions.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So that's why I don't buy the timeline thing. The
Yeah.
more I think about it, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a fun theory, but yeah, I think because
we're,
of
have to shoot,
Dolores.
we're gonna have to shoot it down.
No, I think I think we have to, because I think
Yeah.
for the fact that Dolores changes in real time
Yeah.
in both,
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
and because she keeps having these little powwows
With Bernard.
with
yeah.
Bernard, right, and that's in real time. Well, she keeps having these interactions with both Ed Harris and William. And it seems to be
I
in real
agree.
time, like she seems to be,
Yeah, and that's what I mean, so-
changing or having
So
problems.
to
at the same time,
put a
so-
nail in this dual timelines thing,
Yeah, go ahead.
Ed Harris shows up, does whatever with Dolores. Dolores' dad flips out. Dolores' dad gets replaced. Anthony, everybody's there. Like the whole crew is there. Then we proceed on.
I like the idea that Ed
Like,
Harris
I made-
is actually Arnold.
I mean, like
I
I
do
made
like
the
that.
I made the joke. Oh, everybody's a simulant. It's a simulation inside of a simulation. Which is that one? What's the next fan theory? I was joking.
Oh, well, I mean, the next one that I really don't buy is
Uh-huh.
that Bernard is a robot.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
I don't buy that at all.
Yeah, forget no,
Yeah.
no way.
And
I
then,
don't buy that one.
and then the
I just
last
don't.
one was the question of where the park is, where and when the park is. So, like, is it on an Earth that looks kind of like ours? Is it on a
No.
several hundred years in the future post-apocalyptic Earth where everybody else lives underground? Because the people talk about how nice it is to be, the guests do talk about how nice it is to be out in the open air. And do they just mean in this rural setting?
I think the role
Or
setting.
it's sort of like up in the air?
Well, because they all seem like city folk. Even the frat boys who show up, they're like, "Dude, this place is awesome." Like,
Right.
they all seem like they're all from the city. I think everybody in the future is still living in like Metropolis.
Yeah, but see, you have to also think about if you're gonna say they live in a post-apocalyptic
I don't
like
even
kind
know
of
why are we saying
wasteland.
post-apocalyptic again.
I don't know.
I don't-
That's
It
what the
could
theory
because
said.
it's one of the theories. But here's the
Okay.
problem with
I'm not buying the post-apocalyptic.
here's the problem with saying a post-apocalyptic world. In this post-apocalyptic world, you would take the hosts, dumb them down, and
put 'em to work.
send them out to fix the destroyed, ruined Earth, so you could live on the surface again.
Well, yeah,
I think
okay.
I think when they're saying it's nice to be outside, they're not adding the without all the bullshit of the modern world that we live in. It's more like
I
nice
don't-
to get away from the big
I
city
don't
where I
think-
work.
I don't think there's
Right.
any
Be out here
evidence
like that.
of the post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, I don't
theory.
think there is
I don't
either.
think there's any evidence that an apocalypse happened.
Yeah.
I think there's evidence that Xbox and Microsoft got so big,
they
created the technology to do this.
Well, the only evidence is that
know?
the only like pseudo evidences where they keep the retired ones in that abandoned. You could say it's a mall, or you could just say it's the first generation of the park that they've just built over.
Yeah, I'm okay. I think that because
see, now that you say it that way, and especially because Westworld is also Michael Crichton,
right?
You know what that abandoned mall makes me think of is the scene in Jurassic World.
The old park.
Where they stumble onto the old park, specifically the hall where the climax of the movie takes place.
Right, I wouldn't say...
So I think that's probably what it is.
It's just the first generation
the
park.
The park has existed for so long that the first generation is now just used as storage.
Right, I believe that.
Yeah.
I buy that very easily. They've just built on a few more levels because they're on the side of a mountain or the side of a cliff.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it,
so
like
they just built. Where are they going to go? They're going to have to build up.
Yeah, like we have a modern day functioning example of that. New York City.
Yeah,
there's all kinds of abandoned, built over for the new world subway stations, pockets of construction.
Right. Yeah.
The world didn't end. They just built over them and abandoned them.
Well, also, I have no evidence to support the apocalypse ever happens in this story at all. No. I mean, I could see it being in there, but why would you need it? That's one of those, like, why even bother writing it in? What's the point?
Yeah.
This isn't interesting enough for you? You know?
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I think they're.
I'm just reporting on what I read.
I know you are. I'm not arguing with you. I'm thinking this is somewhere like middle of nowhere, New Mexico, middle of nowhere, Arizona, middle of nowhere, where they can get a lot of land.
Yeah, like even right now, the space to create this park actually exists.
Absolutely. You know? There are definitely places,
especially
in
if you
Southwest,
have,
where you could just get lost for days and days and days on end on horseback and never see a soul.
Especially if you have people paying $40,000 a day.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know.
I mean, I buy it. I don't think there needs to be any. Okay, here's how
the
good
world doesn't have to have ended to create this.
Here's how good. Well, here's how good I think Westworld is so far. And I think this is a good yardstick based off of what we were just talking about. Mm-hmm. Is that I don't need an underlying conspiracy to make it more interesting.
No.
Just with what's been presented so far, without any crazy creative thought, and diving into things that may or may not even be there. Just with what we were presented, I'm already kind of really interested and can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah.
So, honestly, I wouldn't bother writing the apocalypse. I wouldn't bother writing even the dual timeline.
Yeah, I will say
I think it's interesting as is.
Yeah.
I will say as a point of personal conceit, I do like the idea that I came up with the differences between management and everything and the quote-unquote ultimate goal of management.
Yeah.
Do you remember what I said?
No, not really.
that they want to build the hosts in such a way that at some point in the future you can upload a human mind into them and live forever.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to get the software down and everything down so that there won't be a difference.
But that's like a season 3 kind of a thing.
Yeah,
I think right now.
But they keep hinting at it because they like.
Well, when they keep having these conversations about what do the engineers want,
what
versus
does this
what does Anthony Hopkins want, versus what does Bernard want, versus what does the board want, versus what
Yeah, like she clearly says, management has different goals than the engineers.
Yeah.
You're full of shit. You can't help me. You know they have different goals, but you don't know what they are. Yeah.
And I see that, and I accept that, and we'll see if they do that.
Well, that's what makes science fiction so much fun, because you can go anywhere.
You have limitless possibilities.
Yeah.
So, of course. But I don't
know. I kind of partially start to wonder if Arnold ever actually existed.
I think he did. Aside from the pictures, which could be doctored.
Yeah.
No, I think he did, because there would be way too many questions from the staff as to whether or not this guy Arnold that keeps getting referred to actually existed.
Or if Arnold was the person that they said.
Well, plus, wouldn't somebody have said, yeah, I worked with him?
Nobody has so far.
No, I know, but that's because there's like a 30-year gap. But over 30 years, we're thinking 30 years, just because that's at least how long.
Well, that's Ed Harris.
That's at least how long Ed Harris has been showing up. But we're led to believe that he showed up on day one. Let's say, for instance. But this guy just mysteriously was there and then wasn't, and then over like 3 decades, nobody has actually ever met him. I doubt that. No, I think there actually was an Arnold. And I think the fact that he died under mysterious circumstances, they're clear. I think they're clearly going to get back to that sooner or later.
Well, I would believe that Ed Harris is Arnold. Like that, I would believe.
I could see that.
See,
I could see that.
I don't think he is.
No, I don't think so, but he could be.
He could be. I think he's...
I mean, I like the idea when they say, oh, that guest can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like we all know it's Arnold, but we don't call him that. And we haven't given Ed Harris's character a name.
No, but see, I think we hear that guest can do whatever he wants because he's just so flippin' rich.
Yeah.
Because when that one other guest is like, oh my god, your organization saved my sister's life.
Yes. And
he's like a Bill Gates.
You know what? I was going to say that's more likely, but you know what? He still could be Arnold. Now that you bring up the fact, you remind me of the fact, of course, that somebody came up to him and said, thank you so much for the help you've done.
Yeah.
Now I don't think he's Arnold
I don't
at all.
think so either.
No, I think that just killed that Arnold.
This is somebody else. This is someone who is seen on a semi-regular basis in the real world.
See, I almost kind of think
every time that he can in the park.
I almost think that because Ed Harris is so determined that Arnold is at the end of winning the maze that you can actually die in, and Arnold's actually immortal.
I see.
No, see, I don't think that. See, I think Arnold got lost in the maze and died.
Too much of a reach, yeah.
I think Arnold might have gotten lost in the maze.
I think Arnold was building the maze and died at the end.
That I would believe.
I think he was a human being.
And he built the maze and he succumbed to his own thing.
I think at the end of it, he tried to do it himself and then died.
Yeah, because you can actually die in the maze, which would be the...
That I would
be into that.
That I could see. That I would buy.
Yeah.
I would believe that.
Yeah.
I
think Ed Harris is like a Bill Gates figure who, for whatever reason, is obsessed with this park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And feels like, okay, I have done all of the regular levels, I've done all of the advanced levels, I've done all of the expert levels, and now I've found this Easter egg maze level.
Sounds like Ready Player One.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, see, he has that feeling because every situation he walks into, he talks a bunch of shit because he knows that when they shoot back, he's going to be able to keep shooting.
Right.
So his 8 shotgun with the shotgun shell, he fires off 8 shots, he fires off the shotgun, and I do like that they did it twice now, where they don't show him killing anybody, they just hear the sound, and somebody runs in the frame and they're screaming and he kills them.
Well, yeah.
I like that. Honestly, it's a production side that makes it really fun. It makes it cheaper and easier to shoot, and it's great.
No, it's not.
And he's bored of that happening.
It's not.
He's like, I want some actual danger because
I want an actual
I want to be able to do this.
I just want to walk in and shoot whoever I want.
Well, you want to see what's his name, the guy with the rope around his neck. Not Hector. Hector's the asshole. With the snake girlfriend.
You want to see the criminal he keeps saving.
Yeah,
the guy.
I can't remember his name.
And I love that actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor. Yeah,
I can't remember his name either. That guy, and he mentions him by name again and again and again.
I know,
but
there's too many characters for me to keep track of everyone's name.
All you really want to do is you want to listen to what Ed Harris is doing, but you want to focus on his reaction because we don't know who this guy is. All we do know is that he's petrified as to what's going on.
Well, see, I do like
as if to say who is saving him is worse than the people who were just about to hang.
Yeah, and I do like that.
I mean, that's really good storytelling right there.
And it's a weird kind of twist where his character has the answers for Ed Harris, but won't give them up, and doesn't give them up.
His daughter had
no. So almost kind of like by an odd default inside this world.
Well,
he won't give them up. He's not. He knows he's not supposed to.
I don't think it's that he knows he's not supposed to. I think it's that he can't access them or whatever. Like,
here's
Ed Harris hasn't put in the right code to get him to say what the answers are.
Yeah, but by code, I think I know in specifics what Ed Harris has to do. I know we're all saying it's like has to type in the right code. Okay, like on the Nintendo, it's up, down, left, right.
Yeah.
Okay. In this, look how they analyze all of these hosts.
Yeah.
Yes, they have one scene where the woman engineer has the glasses with the lines of code running across. But every other single time they have to analyze one of these things, they sit it down and talk to it.
Yeah.
That's how they get information.
Yeah.
Only once do they have to do that. So when Ed Harris has to type in a code unquote,
no, he just has to say the right thing.
No, he has to kidnap one of these guys, bring him back to his home city, and threaten the guy's wife and daughter at gunpoint, and then murder his wife in front of him, and then say, I'm going to kill your daughter. Now are you going to tell me? And then guess what happens?
The daughter tells him.
She cracks. That was the code.
She doesn't even crack because there's no emotion behind there's no emotion behind her. Yeah.
Ed Harris doesn't have a keyboard. What he has is what these things respond to. That's the input method. Just like on a regular person.
Yeah.
When you want to get information out of a person, you don't type commands into a keyboard you plug into their brain.
You make them responsible for something else happening.
You make them give it to you in a way that, with outside, stimuli.
Yeah.
In this case, he knew what to do. That's him putting in the code.
Yeah.
Something that no guest would ever think to do.
Yeah.
Is to threaten somebody and I killed your wife, I'm gonna murder your daughter unless you tell me about this maze. What guest would ever say these things to one of these hosts?
Yeah.
He just knows, particularly this guy.
And then it's even still a riddle.
This guy is a little bit of a weakling, kind of. He's not meant to be a killer, okay? He's on at the end of his rope, literally. He has a wife and a daughter in a very small, poor town that he loves dearly. Like, this is the perfect guy to interrogate if you go under the assumption that every single host in the park has something to do with this maze and knows something about this maze.
Even if they don't know, they know.
Right, exactly. You got to pick the weakest one you can find. This is him.
Yeah.
This guy's got the most to lose. All the rest of them don't have shit to lose, really.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Abernathy, but Abernathy's been retasked so many times.
And
Harris came up to him like he was an old friend. Like
Dolores,
he's been trying to get the shit out of him.
See,
for years.
I'd say if he's been there for 30 years, he knows that Dolores isn't the source.
It's brilliant, and it's after 30 years of work.
Yeah,
I totally see it. Like, this is the smartest move.
Yeah,
I mean, who would have guessed that the daughter would have cracked?
Well, see, I'd
say if Ed Harris knew that,
he would have.
He just went right for the daughter.
The daughter didn't crack. The daughter didn't crack.
She did as soon as she admitted that the maze exists.
Yeah, I get what Guy's saying. Is it wasn't like an emotional.
The daughter wasn't
my God,
like.
Don't kill me. No, let me tell you, it was as soon as he did the specific action.
Yeah.
The maze.
Follow the Red Arroyo to.
Yeah. As soon as he's like, she's like,
you think that was pre-programmed?
He's like, he has the mom.
You think that was pre-programmed? Like, the first person to shoot this little girl's mother gets that clue?
It sounded like it from the way she delivered it. Like,
well, no, and the first person asking, because he says,
I don't know.
He said he loads his gun up, he gives the daughter the 2 bullets.
She first says, the race isn't for you, and he says, I'll take my chances.
Yeah.
Then she says, follow the Red River to where the snake lays.
But it's complete.
But it's only after she says this maze isn't for you, and he says, "I'll take my chances."
But it's completely an unlocked code. She's not reacting to her mother having been shot.
No, she's
reacting to somebody still saying, "Give me the code."
Right.
This is what happened. She's actually.
Right, she's reacting to somebody who's relentless.
She's actually completely emotionless as soon as her mother dies.
Yeah, exactly. The emotion drops as soon as she figures out this guy is relentless. He's going after this maze one way or the other. The maze isn't for you.
See, you're talking about her like she's a human, though, honey.
And she's actually emotional.
I think it's a failsafe.
Well, no,
the maze isn't for you. And you know what? If you keep asking me, I'm going to actually give you the answer. But you know what? You're going to get killed because you're not ready. Even 30 years, the maze isn't for you. You're gonna get killed. I think it's a safeguard.
Well, no, and she's actually kind of. I've seen and lived through this. It's actually an interesting thing. She's actually a child, and as soon as the parents remove, she becomes a machine.
Yeah.
Because children tend to follow off their parents. Like,
then now you're making her out like a human being. Don't make the same mistake that Rachel is trying to get me. She's not a child. She's programmed to be a child.
No, I'm doing both. What I'm saying is, she's only acting scared because her father and her mother are scared. As soon as her mother is killed, the father doesn't exist anymore because the father's still flipping out of reacting emotionally.
It shows the artificial being that she is.
Yeah, and she's like, you've completed the code.
When her mother robot is present,
yeah.
her behavior is dependent on her mother's behavior code-wise.
Forget present. Once her mother's dead,
and her codes, her reaction is dependent on her mother.
If mom's at the store,
she's not a human being, so she's not dead. Once that code turns off, and she's not responding to that code anymore.
Yeah.
When the mother's
she's
dead.
no longer going to... Yeah. Okay, but it could... Okay.
Well, no, if you happen...
Once her mother's code has been abruptly stopped.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
You keep saying dead like she's a human being.
No.
Okay, wait,
if you stumble into town and the mother and daughter are separated and you go up and you start fucking around with the daughter and asking her questions, she's going to love her mother.
Abruptly stopped.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that happened as soon as somebody executed her mother.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example.
I need information about the maze. I need information about... She puts on the act as much as possible because that's her job.
Okay.
But after a while, because Ed Harris is relentless, she has to default to the maze. I think
we're all saying the same thing. We're just saying it in a different way.
I think you're right.
This is what I'm saying.
I think you're right.
This is the actual real-world example that I observed when I lived in Africa.
With Westworld and robots walking around.
Well, this is the example of kids and parents and reactions. And
but you remember you're likening these things to human beings again when you do this.
Which they're programmed to be as closely as possible as their programmers. But let me finish.
See, I walked that line before, and Rachel warned me. You keep treating them like human beings.
Let me finish with the example.
Okay.
Had a friend. We were fucking around, climbing up on palm trees and stuff. Friend fell out of the palm tree, got up. He was a little bit shaken. Nothing happened. He didn't react to anything until his mother came up and was crying because of what she had seen. Then he started crying and started flipping out.
Yeah?
And that's like the other side of this with the mom.
Yeah, did he have a robotic voice and say the palm tree's not for you?
No, he was fine until the mother reacted emotionally. The mother in this point is just like a placeholder.
No, and that's why you're wrong, because when she says the maze is not for you, that's not fine. That's a very stern warning. That's not fine. You're saying your friend was fine. That's a way different.
So here's also why I object to you making that parallel.
Okay.
Is because you're talking about the child going in one direction from relatively okay, like a little bit shaken and bruised, to freaking out when the mom starts freaking out. And yes, that's absolutely true. You watch this with kids all the time. If the kid falls down and the parent goes, oh no, then the kid starts crying. If the kid falls down and the parent goes, hey, that looked like it hurt a little bit. You okay? The kid's like,
actually I'm okay,
But the key difference is in this scene, we're not talking about a girl going from being okay to being not okay. We're talking about a girl being from not okay watching her mother dying to all of a sudden being okay. That's not a thing that you observe in real kids.
Can I say not okay? Can I just say stern?
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it's
let me finish. You don't see kids in real life going from being freaked out because they're dependent, because they're responding to their parents' reactions, to all of a sudden their parent isn't reacting anymore. That doesn't make their reaction that's dependent upon their parents' reaction automatically stop.
Unless, of course, they're a robot.
Yes,
but I'm saying it's I'm saying it's the opposite side, because the little girl was scared, even though she did everything like she took the bullet.
Being scared when their parent gets killed in front of them.
That's
sorry, like I don't.
That's
because
what I'm
they're
saying.
robots.
No, what happened?
Making a parallel to human children that doesn't fall down.
Exactly. What happened in that scene was not human behavior. That human behavior and reaction stopped as soon as Ed Harris pressured that girl, and that switch flipped in her head.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, full robot. I care nothing about anybody else except the primary objective.
And she still, as far as we know, hasn't turned back from that. Like, the dad's still fucked up about it, but
we don't know.
Is a
machine
still.
We don't know. But as long as she starts, error checking again, because that's all they do.
Yeah.
Is they error check with each other. So like during the night, when some of them are still awake,
Yeah.
All they're doing is they're interacting and talking with each other, and all they're doing is error checking each other left and right, which is how they become so lifelike. Is because 24/7, or 16/8, I should say, because apparently they sleep.
Yeah.
16/8, they are just error checking each other unless they're interacting with the guest, in which case they look even better than they did yesterday. So I would say that as soon as Ed Harris leaves, she's going to go right back to error checking with all the other people in that village, and she's going to fall right back into the fold because that's her program, because she's not human.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's my bet.
See, I don't.
But
I get
what you're saying. We see the look on her face when we leave, when Ed Harris leaves, because they zoom out. This is a visual way to tell a story. They zoom out as Ed Harris is leaving.
With another field of dead hosts, which seems to be kind of a theme.
It's Westworld.
Yeah, we got off on the first one. Yeah,
every episode there's going to be some kind of a bloodbath. I mean, there just kind of is. If it doesn't further the story, like the narrative of the actual guest, the real life narrative of the whole show. If it doesn't do that, then it's just to show off how evil the guests can be.
I mean, I can almost say, can we take a moment to say this is the way reboots should be done?
I mean,
exploring possibilities that are tangents from the original.
I mean, I didn't really get into the original, so I don't really remember the original.
I never saw the original, and my impression is that this is not so much a reboot of the original movie as it is just another adaptation of the book.
We'll see. I think.
Short story.
We'll see what Ed Harris is. What Ed Harris is looking for in the maze with Real Danger is what happened in the movie.
I see
the robots started to be able to actually kill the guests,
and I would buy
buy
that. And because enough time has passed since the original,
that
nobody's going to be like, "Oh, I know what happened. The movie came out just yesterday."
Yeah,
I would buy that. That's actually what they're going to end up doing with it.
Yeah, that's what's amazing.
I would love it if that isn't the case. Mm-hmm. And that it's something new, but I would buy it because it worked so well before.
I would also, though, be willing to believe, because when did the original come out?
73.
I think in the 70s.
Yeah, see, I would be willing to believe that the original was very loosely based on Michael Crichton's short story, and that this is actually sticking.
Yeah, it was more written for, and I think
this is sticking with the novel.
I can't remember if it was a short story or a novel.
I thought it was a novel. Yeah. That's
it's worth looking up.
It's worth a Google. Please comment if we're
wrong. One of my biggest upsets with this whole thing is that Ed Harris isn't bald. Because I wanted that little callback to Yul Brynner, the black cowboy, the one that's the whole driving force behind the original Westworld story.
Why does it matter? He's got short hair.
Because I would have liked that. Because Yul Brynner was bald. That would have been. He's dressed exactly. He's dressed like Yul Brynner.
Yeah, but he's
dressed as that character.
Yeah, but you know what? But in reality,
he's not that character.
No. In reality, you're in, let's say, New Mexico. You're not going to go trotting around on a fucking horse day in, day out with a bald head. You're going to wear a fucking hat.
Yeah, but he was bald under the hat.
Yeah, I know that.
And that's for me. That's a little minor callback.
I think it's because they don't want to.
It's actually a minor nitpick. I just would have loved it if he was. That's it.
It's a nitpick, whatever.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to if I was lucky enough to score Ed Harris. I mean, as long as I was able to get Anthony Hopkins. If I got Ed Harris, I wouldn't be like, oh, by the way, you need to shave your head for the show. No.
Ed Harris.
And I'm not going to sit the guy down for 4 hours and make him wear a bald cap every episode, every week. No, I'd be like, you know what? I can get past the fact that you're not bald. It's okay.
Well, see, that's for me, the nitpick turns into the dual hook where in the original Westworld movie, not the short story, he was the host, coming back to our show, he was the host that woke up and went, I'm kind of tired of fucking getting killed by these people. If I kill them, they won't kill me. Then we're off with our story. Ed Harris is he's almost like the opposite. I'm tired of not being able to be killed. I want there to be real stakes in my story. I want the possibility of dying. That's why I'm looking for the maze, which seems to be the stakes get raised. The next level.
I gotcha. I want to see what they do with it again.
Yeah.
Once again, for the millionth time, we are only 4 episodes in.
I have a
we have
sneaking
questions.
I have a sneaking desire, more desire than feeling, that he'll shave his head when he enters the maze.
Well, let me ask you this: what's at the end of the maze? Yeah.
See, like I already said
okay.
Arnold or immortality.
All right, with some quick googling, what do you have, Rachel?
It was never a book or a short story. Michael Crichton wrote the original movie.
Oh, just straight up.
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
On. Okay. Well, there we go. Things can be changed.
So all you need is the movie to jump in with theories about the show.
Apparently.
Okay.
So let's lay this out now. Do we want to do another 4 when we come back to this? Like 4 more in, and then we'll have another Westworld.
We'll do it after we reach a place where we're all comfortable with.
Okay.
Let's not put a specific time
Let's not
on it.
nail it down. Okay.
But we are definitely getting close to the end of our episode 19 of Some Guy and John.
Yeah.
I don't know. You want to check how long we've been going? We've been going on for a while.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter.
I say we save the rest of it for episode 5.
I'll say that. I'll
throw in one piece of trivia before we end.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
The original movie was the first feature film using 2D computer-generated imagery.
Oh shit!
Otherwise known as CGI.
Right on.
For what?
For
Or does it say in the
It
trivia?
doesn't say. It
Doesn't
just
say?
says, in the 1973 science fiction western thriller film Westworld, Crichton made his feature film directorial debut, and it was the first feature film using 2D CGI.
So Crichton wrote and directed it.
Yep.
So it was all his baby.
Well done.
Nice.
Okay.
And it's actually so. After Doctor Strange, we're gonna have to have a Westworld the movie podcast.
We might.
Because it's actually a good
we'll
movie.
See.
It's a good
I
movie.
kind of want to make it through the
Actually,
whole first season of Westworld before I watch the movie.
Yeah, but actually, you know,
I don't want to get spoiled on anything that's going to happen on the TV show.
I'm hesitant because I don't really remember.
Well, see,
the
I
fucking movie.
said after,
and you know what?
not
If
next.
they go through the whole movie, that might be the end of the whole series.
Yeah.
You're gonna find out what happens at the maze and everything.
Yeah,
Maybe we don't do that.
No. The movie is framework of the show with the movie. The movie is a host wakes up and doesn't want to keep doing this anymore, starts killing off guests, ultimately loses.
All right.
That's the movie.
Let's say maybe.
That's the loose framework of the movie. The show, I don't think the show is. I won't go with brilliant. The show is really good, and I don't think they'll fuck it up because of what they have and what they've built so far.
I don't think so either, but before we start making plans for the next one,
No.
let's
After, not next.
let's say we'll say after, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll stick with after.
See, I would love if the show followed the same thing as the movie and went with Future World, which would be fantastic given the technology and the capability of filmmakers these days.
We'll see.
But it might be too much. It might wind up being Cabin in the Woods.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens with the show. Because what they have in the show is way better CGI than what they had in '73 in the movies.
See, I'm almost kind of thinking that the more I think about it, the more I think that Dolores might be like some evolution of Dolores might be the entire goal of management for another purpose.
We'll see. We'll see. Again, I don't have enough to go on yet. We're only 4 episodes in.
Because there has to be a reason that the oldest host is still involved with what's going on.
No, they just keep saying she's the oldest.
Yeah.
They never said she's the first or anything like that.
And neither did I.
Right. But
there's an implication there, but there is a difference.
Yeah, but you know what? No matter what, there's always going to be a host in the park that's the oldest, no matter what.
Yeah.
They could go put a bullet into her head and then shove her down into level 83 cold storage.
They've also
and then somebody else would be the oldest.
Yeah, they've also shown that hosts are easily replaceable, so why is the oldest host still in the park?
You don't know, just like I don't know how old she is.
It doesn't matter how old she is, why is she still there?
It does, because if it syncs up with Arnold's death.
Yeah, but why?
And whatever Anthony Hopkins is up to.
That's the great question that they put out there. That you can we're debating it now. Hosts are easily replaceable. Why is the oldest host still in the park?
Because if you kill her,
I think
then the next oldest host in the park will be the oldest host in the park.
So, but why?
Okay. Even if you kill them after 2 weeks. Even if you gauge it by minutes, there's always going to be one host in the park that's the oldest one there. There's no way around it. It just right now all they're setting up for is this is a funny coincidence. She happens to be the oldest one in the park.
But story and structure wise,
yeah.
Second episode, she's the oldest host in the park. That has to mean
something. So. When she's talking to the what's his name in the interview process, Bernard. She's no longer really in the park. No. Now in the park, there's somebody else that's the oldest host in the park. I'm telling you, is that what you're going on is all very superficial.
That's all we have because we're only 4
because
episodes
that's
in.
how it was mentioned. Who mentions that was just saying it offhand. Oh, by the way, did you happen to know this is the oldest host in the park? They weren't saying it to make a point.
They made a point when they said it.
No, they weren't saying it to make a point, though. They were just mentioning it. You're saying it as if they were specifically trying to make a point. We don't know why.
And the story is focusing on those 3 people.
Because they tend to be the most interesting right now. And I'm sure they're going to continuously be the most interesting. And I'm sure this is going to come up again.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that when the characters gave you that information that you're utilizing right now, they weren't doing it for a conspiracy that you're delving into.
Well, I'm not saying conspiracy. I'm saying it means something more than just a passing mention.
Yes, I think you're going to see that because she's the oldest host in the park, she's had the most experiences. Yeah, and that's why she's got the most bugs.
And she's probably
But you're setting it up for somebody specifically keeping her there. I don't think somebody's specifically keeping her there just to say she's the oldest host in the park. I think saying she's the oldest host in the park is something that they can attribute to her behavior.
You're saying you think it means less than I do.
Yes, I think it does. Because I think you think there's intent where there isn't. I'm saying there's.
And the actress's name is first.
Yes, I know, because she's clearly going to be essentially the star, one way or the other. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying right now, the way they're setting it up is that she's having all these experiences and everything because she's the oldest host in the park. What you're saying is she's the oldest host in the park because of a reason. I'm saying, no, the reason why she's having all these experiences is because she's the oldest host in the park, but not on purpose.
Well, it seems from what we've seen, the most work has actually been put into her.
Yeah, and the fact that she's
Are you telling anybody about our meeting? No. She's like I said last night, the Hal thing.
No.
She's in that place where she has to lie to people.
No, if it was somebody else that was having these issues, he would be interviewing her because these issues are what he's after.
Okay.
When he's interviewing,
but she's not having any issues.
Yes, she is.
No, she's not.
He's looking at the way that she responds and how she's responding.
No,
that's why he outright says, "I'm interested in how you're reacting. I'm interested is when I tell you to only go on improvisation and not on story. No scripted responses. Just go on improv." And then she gives him an answer to something. He says, "Interesting answer. Why'd you say that?" And she says, "I don't know." And he says, "Wait a minute.
Okay.
What do you mean you don't know? Where did that come from?" You're a computer. Where did
so far,
and she doesn't know.
So far, she's the only host that has anything to do with evolution.
Listen, that's why it's interesting. She could be.
They're building her up.
She could be a dirt farmer named Bill. As long as she was doing this kind of behavior, this guy's interested in learning about it. It's probably a result of her being the oldest host in the park, not the other way around. It's probably because she's been there for so long and has so much memory recorded.
So she's being studied.
And then with the update,
she's being studied.
Now he's studying her. Now with the update, she's pulling for more information than any other host in the park, so she has a lot more bats in the belfry. That's why she's interesting. But like I'm saying, she could be a dung farmer named Bill, who's in his 70s, and an old crotchety guy. As long as he's the oldest guy there and has more memories built up and gets this update, he's going to have this kind of behavior too. And he would be sitting in there. Because the dude is not after her specifically. That
Bernard
actor isn't Bernard, thank you.
The character, yeah.
Yeah, he is not after her specifically. He's after her behavior. And they're attributing it to her having so many more memories built up, and now this update lets them call back on memories. That's what they're saying. He asks her questions like, "Why did you just answer me like that?" And she doesn't know. That's not true for an AI. They're supposed to know.
No, it seems like you're purposely trivializing.
No, it seems like you're
purposely that they're putting on her.
Throwing a conspiracy theory in there doesn't need to be there because you want to make it more interesting.
No, I'm speculating based off of what we've been given.
Yeah, what we've been giving is the facts that as I'm giving it to you. She happens to be the oldest thing in the park. He happens to be interested in her only because of her behavior, because that's what he has said.
And for me,
even he said to her when they're both alone, that's why he's talking to her. He just doesn't want to make her behavior known to anybody else. That's why he wants to keep their conversation secret. That's why he keeps saying, don't tell anybody about what we talk about here. He doesn't want to let everybody else know how she's responding. He wants to see where this is going to go. It's this morbid curiosity he's having, which is great and really interesting because we get this.
Here's the outside question: is his curiosity based on the fact that she's the oldest host because they made it a point to say that, or is it based on her reactions to what's happening?
The behavior is so yes, but not in the way you think. It's not in the way you think. You keep going back to like she's purposely there for a reason. No, it's behavior's happening because she's the oldest, not the other way around.
Well, see, I say she's kept there as the oldest host for a reason because of the ease of them changing people out.
No, you see, the people that would have ulterior motives don't give a shit about her time there. They give a shit about her behavior.
Yeah,
and the people who don't have ulterior motives don't give a shit about her time there. They only give a shit about her behavior. Nobody in the whole series gives a shit about how old she's been there. They only give a shit about her behavior. So like I said, it doesn't matter the character. All that matters is the behavior. That's what they're focusing on. He's picked out her specifically because she's got more bats in the belfry because she's been there the longest. But he's not keeping her there. He's keeping her behavior a secret. That's what he's doing. He's not keeping her in the park specifically. He could have wiped her memory and sent her back in just to keep her there. He's keeping her behavior a secret and not reporting it. That's the really like, what's he up to? And I think it's morbid curiosity. He wants to see what happens if he just lets her run free and where she goes with this. I think that's what it is. And if it is, hey, I'm on board. That's a really interesting story arc. Because I'm kind of curious myself. But I don't give a shit how long she's been there. It's just the only time that comes up is to point out that she has more memories than the others. That's the only time that matters.
Yeah, well, that's why I think she's kept there. That's the thing.
See, okay, we're arguing the same thing here.
Yeah, there's a little difference in it. You don't think she's kept there. I do.
No,
that's
but you're oversimplifying. She's kept there. I'm saying Bernard is keeping. Okay, I'm using your word, keeping her behavior a secret. You're saying she's kept there like she's just there physically. Well, that doesn't mean shit. They can wipe her memory clean in 2 seconds. That doesn't mean anything. She's just spare parts then.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's way more interesting that he's keeping her behavior a secret and then making her erase her event log for when they have an interaction and a conversation. That's way more interesting than just the fact that somebody just wants to keep watching her dance around the town for another couple more years. That doesn't mean anything. What matters is this behavior. That is everything. The only, like I said, for the 5th or 6th time, the only reason it comes into play, how long she's been there, is because she has all more memories than these other people have. For a character like her to be there, it's interesting to see. For someone who's had her father and her family life pulled away and murdered in front of her, have her be raped many times in this narrative again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that, and that would be one reason to maybe keep her character there. But guess what? You know what's going to happen. Just like they replaced her dad, they'll replace her. They'll stick another host in there, looks nothing like her, but they'll say that's her. That's the new Dolores.
So you think Bernard?
I'm thinking her specific doesn't mean shit.
So I'm going to fall back on my keeping. So you think Bernard is keeping her there to study what happens to her, and she just happens to be the oldest host?
Well, she's going to be the most interesting one to watch because she's been there the longest. But he hasn't been keeping her there. She just happens to be the one that's been there the longest.
Okay. But at some point...
Just like if it wasn't her, if it was somebody else that was there the longest, he would be studying them. Because if they got the update, where they can look back and react...
well, she's one of the ones that got the update that's causing the problems now where our show picks up.
If it was a 65-year-old dude who was a dung farmer or whatever who got the update, but had been there longer than her, he'd be watching that dude. Because that dude might have more shit to fall back from. That guy also might have been another character way back when. Just like Abernathy was a sheriff, and he was a teacher, and then, you know what I mean? And he was a badass, you know? So you see, he's going with, you know what, this one happens to be the oldest. I didn't plan on that. Wasn't keeping her on purpose, but she happens to be the oldest, and she happens to have the update, and she's calling back on these memories. See, so all of a sudden, I'm going to start out of nowhere. I'm going to start interviewing her because remember, in the beginning, we see him interview her for the first time, essentially.
Yeah, the beginning's a Doctor Who fucking mess of
but
time,
we see him interview her for the very first time.
No,
So if he's been keeping her there for fucking years,
we see at the end of the first episode, we get the reveal of the worker interviewing her, and then we get revealed later on that she's actually lying to him.
I think he stumbled upon an interesting character, the most interesting character that has this update. I think that's what happened. He stumbled upon the most interesting character that has this update. The reason they're the most interesting is because they've been there the longest. But as a result, over the past 30 years, since he hasn't been there for 30 years, he hasn't been keeping her there for 30 years.
I think you're giving the story too much credit.
I know,
I'm
but
giving it too little.
Your theory only makes sense if Anthony Hopkins is the one keeping her there. Because Anthony Hopkins is the only one that was keeping her there long enough for Ed Harris to have fucked with her for 30 years.
And
so your theory only makes sense if Anthony Hopkins is doing it, not Bernard. But the only person we're talking about here is Bernard that's been interviewing her. So,
but see, you've brought in a point that.
No, I brought in a point that why Bernard is so interested in her. Well, Bernard shouldn't be because he hasn't been there as long as she has.
Okay, so here's the thing.
So clearly, it wasn't his idea to keep her there for that long.
What I'm saying is,
I think you're making a mountain out of a molehill here.
What I'm saying is, we can agree on this.
Yeah.
Ed Harris wants to get to the maze.
Absolutely.
Ed Harris doesn't do anything that won't get him to the maze.
Yeah, he's done it all before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ed Harris interacted with what happens to be the oldest one in the park.
What happens to be, yes.
Yes.
By sheer happenstance, yes.
What so happens to be. He knows that she is part of his quest. not as the oldest one.
I don't. Oh, I mean at Harris's quest.
At Harris's quest is to get to the maze. He purposely interacts with her to get to the maze.
No, not really.
She happens to be the oldest one.
Actually, no. He captures the dude with the rope around his neck, cuts off people's heads, and then examines the shit. And then interrogates people left and right because clearly he didn't get everything he needed out of her.
Yeah, but he's been there before, and he went back to her before he went off on this other quest.
Yeah, he was looking for...
But his quest is singular in that he's trying to get to the maze.
No, he was interrogating people.
Yeah.
Just because there was a scene where he interrogated her doesn't mean that there's necessarily a connection. He was interrogating everybody at that dude's little hacienda, the dude's little town.
Okay.
So no, it doesn't matter. He just happens to know where he can find her.
Yeah, he's done this with her
I wouldn't
before.
say that she's pertinent to his quest. If she was, she'd have a rope around her neck right now and not what's his name.
No, he wouldn't. No, because she wouldn't because his daughter.
He is miles away from her right now.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter.
And
because he's got what's his name.
And to coffin your point, would have a neck around his neck. He'd be dragged along for the quest. The daughter, the one who gave him the clue, he left behind.
He got, I guess, whatever he could for her.
He got some information along the way.
Still took the dad with him.
So our Dolores is integral to the maze in a way that we don't know yet.
Maybe, but you know what? She so far hasn't given up any information.
And she happens to be the oldest one in the park.
The only connection so far to Ed Harris is that he raped her.
Yeah,
that's all you got, though.
Yeah,
but
and he has multiple times.
But you wouldn't make a connection with anybody that he's killed multiple times before.
We don't know that he's killed people multiple times because everybody else seems to be the first time.
He's been there for 30 years.
He's been there for 30 years. He's been doing all these things over and over again.
So it stands to reason he's killed certain hosts over and over again. And it stands to reason that if there was an interrogation between him and Dolores, we'd probably see it, just like we saw.
But all we
ever saw was a rape. We didn't see an interrogation.
Yeah.
We didn't see her give up any information about a maze.
But we're only
She hasn't said the word maze. She hasn't said anything about the maze. She hasn't said anything about it.
What we're shown is that after this time with Dolores, after the update, he has new things to pursue. He only knows he can do whatever he wants as he goes because he's done.
That's a result of the update, not an update to Dolores specifically. That's a result of the update. Because of the update, he can get information out of them that he couldn't get before.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with Dolores specifically. Has everything to do with everybody who's got the update.
The story in our 4 episodes is he purposely interacts with Dolores before he goes off and finds...
the story is that she has flashbacks of when he's raped her.
Okay.
She has hallucinations and she pulls back memories. That's what the story is.
Okay, I'm saying is...
That's the only time we see him and her interact is when she has an hallucination or a flashback of something horrible happening, in which case he rapes her or, is murdering people in front of her. That's the only time we actually see them interact. As far as we can tell, they haven't interacted in real time.
Well, let's run a simple loose timeline. He's been there for 30 years doing the same things over and over again, looking for the entrance to the maze.
Yes, I'm sure he's gotten horny on occasion and raped her.
And only after he rapes her does he capture the prisoner.
No, only after
does he actually get the clue to go to the maze.
How long ago do you think that rape was? You think it was yesterday? Looks like it was years ago.
You're intrigued by the dual timelines.
No.
I'm going with the singular timeline.
I'm saying singular timeline too. He's been there for 30 years. I'm saying it was 15 years ago.
The last time he raped her.
Yeah. And that's what she remembers every single time.
After the
every
update,
single time that... Yeah, now because of the update, she can remember these things.
Yeah, and after the update, he makes it a point to rape her, and then he goes and gets the actual clue to the entrance of the maze.
He doesn't rape her after the update. No.
Yeah.
Wrong. That's a flashback. She shoots somebody else. She thinks it's him. She shoots somebody else. Just like when the madam has the Indian walking through her door, and she sees Ed Harris.
No, it's so
they have
good that
these
you've
flashbacks and these hallucinations.
You've confused what happened with
No.
the
You're confusing a flashback with what actually happened in real time. No, yeah, don't look at me funny. That's
no,
what
in
they
real
have,
time. That's what.
No, in
that's
real
what we
time,
watch.
Ed Harris and Dolores have not interacted yet. Oh, so as I said, what we've seen. No, they haven't. These are flashbacks. These are flashbacks, my friend.
No,
the
first time that he rapes her in the show is not a flashback.
That's what.
After that, it is because our guy from The Walking Dead shapeshifts into him, and then she kills him because it shapeshifts back to the other host.
No, he comes by. He shoots. What's his name? We don't know how long that is, but we're thinking it's real time. It's not a dual timeline.
No, the first time we see him rape her is not a flashback.
Fine, exactly.
It's not a flashback. It's after the update.
Fine. Well, it still has nothing.
The update is in the first episode.
I'll agree to this one if you agree that this has nothing to do with the maze, because the talk of the maze doesn't come up at all. At all. He shows up, he acts like a badass, shoots Teddy, and then rapes her.
No.
That's what happens. I'm gonna tell you, that's what happens. This is not up for debate.
He
comes over, he shoots Teddy, then he rapes her, and then that's it. The story just moves on. There's no talk of the maze. There's no interrogation. He doesn't get anything. As far as all we know is he was bloodthirsty and horny, and he knew where to go for both of those things. That's all we know. So as far as Dolores and him,
but
and the maze,
we both already originally agreed that he doesn't do anything that doesn't get him to the maze.
No, I don't.
He's at that point
I'm
now.
I'm taking that. I'm gonna go on the basis that he's human and he gets bored too. And the fact that he's bloodthirsty and he likes exacting a little pain.
He's beyond bloodthirsty, though.
I'm gonna go with the fact that
you already agree that he doesn't do anything that doesn't get him to the maze.
Yeah, I'm changing
now that he started that quest.
Yeah, but you know what?
No, because I think that we very definitely see him start that quest, and so I think it's fair to say that anything he does before we see him scalp that guy and say, "This is now what I'm going to do," anything that happened before that could possibly have nothing to do with his quest.
Yeah, I think he's more of a complex character than you give him credit for.
I think it's both, and we'll find out.
No, I think he's more of a complex character than you give him credit for. And prior to the start of the maze,
it can't be both. Either everything he does has to do with his quest, or not everything he does has to do with his quest.
He's been there, and he's made a point of saying,
so
I've been looking for the entrance of the maze for 30 years.
Right, exactly.
No, he says, I've been playing this game
for 30 years.
Right,
there's a next level, you're going to give it to me.
There's a next level, which implies I've done all of the other levels, now I'm looking for this next level.
Right.
He does not say, I've been looking for this maze for 30 years.
And he starts the quest for the
But
maze.
he does say he's raped her
who knows
plenty of times.
Who knows
He's
how many
been
times.
here before many times.
So we know that at some point after he's raped her, he's learned about the maze and started his quest in the maze. So on that basis, what we could have seen is his very beginning on the maze. After he scalped the guy and looked at it and said, "What the fuck is this?" Okay, so that means
I think we flipped, and I think I'm assigning more value to the story than you are.
I think he's pretty bloodthirsty. He obviously knows these people aren't real, so he has no problem raping and murdering them.
Yeah.
But he's kind of bloodthirsty and does take some pleasure in that. So on that basis, anything he does to Dolores, I would not put necessarily in the.
I don't think it's recording anymore.
If it's not blinking, it's not recording.
No, it's.
Oh,
yeah. I would think
never mind.
any pain that he's caused to Dolores and Teddy, I wouldn't say is a direct result of him wanting to go in the maze. Because he starts on the quest for the maze after he's already done that to her before.
I think where we come up on it, it's the update has changed. I think
you're pulling a guy.
No,
I think you're pulling a guy, and I think you're making shit more complicated because you feel it's more interesting.
Here's my thing.
But I'm telling you, it's not. If he wanted more out of her, he would have gotten more out of her for the maze. And he didn't.
Here's my thing from the story.
He's stringing along a poor Mexican dude.
No, here's my thing from the story.
As a prisoner for a reason, and not
They
her.
made it a huge, big point to talk about the update with our actual hooker and the way that she caressed her lips, because it was something that she'd always done, but it was a little bit different. after the update, which happens before he rapes Dolores again.
Right, the update is
so
is
he could have picked up something subtle in her reactions that could have given him a clue. Yes, I am completely buying it because I respect how good the story could be.
Or he could have been scalping motherfuckers and then finding out that there was a maze tattooed underneath their fucking scalps.
I think he always knew about the maze.
That could have been. Well, that could have been.
Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Because of his, I've done everything else. There's another level. That's what I'm looking for.
See, that to me, that doesn't sound at all like I've always known about this maze. To me, it sounds about.
Or he's always known there's more because he's been there for.
Remember when he scalped the dude?
There are
and it has a maze tattoo, and then he walks and he rides around on his horse, and he's got the scalp of the maze.
That's for the dumb people in the audience. But
that's for you. No, dummy. That's for you to let you know this is where he learns about the maze.
No, he knew about.
Where he finally gets it
he knew about the next level before he took that guy out there. That's what he was saying the whole time. You're going to tell me how to get to the next level. There's more to this game.
Yes, but see, that's the thing. Is that's what changes. Is when he takes that guy out before he scalps him, all he knows how to ask for is you're going to tell me how to get to the next level.
Yeah,
right. But once he's no, let me finish.
Okay.
Level, not maze.
Yeah. Once he scalps him and sees the maze that's on the inside of the tattoo, now he knows it's a maze, and his question shifts to asking everybody, "Tell me how to get to the maze. Tell me how to get to the maze," which to me says all he knew up to that point was that there was another level he hadn't gotten to yet, and he didn't know what it was. He had no idea what it was.
Yeah. But in our story, all this happens after the update.
Okay, I don't...
Where all the characters are slightly different and extremely different for somebody who's been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah, but the update changes behavior. It doesn't change what's tattooed on the inside of the thing's skin.
And he's known...
Which is how he gets his answer.
Right.
And he also scalped the sheriff, too.
Yeah, but he's had an inkling that there's been a deeper level for 30 fucking years.
Yeah.
Before he ever scalped anybody
and we didn't
found
have a name for
and before this update.
Right, and well before this update, which happens right when we pick up the story.
Yeah.
So clearly he's had an inkling that there's something deeper, but not known it's a maze until he scalped a motherfucker and found out, look, it's a maze. Where do I find the opening?
We'll have to go back and watch and see who says maze first.
Though. And this is the
Does he say maze after or before?
Yeah, after. Yeah. After. He doesn't say maze, he says deeper level.
Deeper level.
But you know what? You know how generic that is? There's a deeper level everything.
I'll like I said, I won't say brilliant. I'll say it's really good.
It's really good to the point where it's got us debating like this.
Yeah,
it's really good. And on that note, I need a refill.
I got a drain. Are we going to keep going, or do we want to end?
I think we're done for episode 19.
Do you want to jump in with anything that we've been talking about for the past 20 minutes?
She cleared up a bunch of stuff for us, actually.
Yeah.
No, Rachel, you good? Rachel's good, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, she just jumped in for like 10 minutes or whatever to help us out, to clarify things about timelines, which is great. All we can all agree on, one way or the other,
it's really
is that
Westworld's
good. Really fucking good.
Yeah, it's really good.
We're really interested.
Yeah.
The fact that it's making this kind of a debate happen.
Yeah.
Just shows this is where HBO is now spending their money. Sorry, Game of Thrones fans.
Yeah.
They're pulling their money from you guys. And the budget is now going to.
And I'll say for even more fun, they can keep expanding on just financially sets that already exist that can be dressed up as westerns.
They can
keep going.
This is not hard to make, but it's so interesting.
Yeah.
And everybody's loving it so far.
We'll call that the end of number 19.
We'll call that the end of 19. We'll see you in number 20.
Yep. For John's birthday.
Oh, God.
Which will be a whole bunch of voices and dual mics.
We hope so. We'll see.
Good night, folks. Back to your cat videos.